Yes, we have made it. We are live for Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, the wrestling conversation. We're going to be talking professional wrestling. Uh, a lot of things have took place in the last maybe 48 hours, I guess, since whenever the pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view took place. Uh, I'm going to ask Jack this question first: work or shoot with this thing going on with CM Punk being fired?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize because I came on right as we were going live. I was so busy getting fired by Tony Khan that it was just taking up more time than I thought. Uh, I think it's legitimate. Uh, I think it's a poor decision, but I do think that it's legitimate. When you start getting real news sources involved, you can't work those people, or they will never cover you again.
True.
So.
True. Did I don't know how to. I don't really know how to say this, Rodney. Did Tony Khan go about this completely the wrong way?
Tony Khan goes about everything the wrong way. He's an imbecile. All right, number one, I still believe it worked because even on his show the other night, he made mention of it. It's almost the same routine they used the last time around. Almost identically the same storyline. One thing that hasn't been involved from what the information was from what I saw with Punk Perry was that there was an altercation, but it doesn't matter if it's behind the scenes or altercation. There should have been law enforcement should have been called in and a formal investigation into an assault should have been done. That's not happened either. So those are the things that I find funny. And then the fact that he puts out a lengthy letter and then comes on the show and talks about it. Those are things you really shouldn't do if you're getting rid of somebody, moving on from somebody. You don't just continue to make them a part of the story always. And then I noticed that even Daniel Bryanson did the exact same thing. He comes on and he does the same thing. He's running his mouth that we're moving on from CM Punk. So, but that's just me. But if the fact is, if he actually has been fired, it makes Tony Khan look the worst possible way. It shows that he has weak leadership, that wrestlers just think that they can just do whatever they want to without any repercussions, and that they have no respect for him whatsoever. None. And that's my take on it. But it was a terrible mistake. If he hired him back and the first one wasn't to work, all right, and he hired him back, and then the exact same thing happens again, that makes him the world's worst boss that's ever been.
Jack,
go ahead.
Jack, we know why CM Punk? Do we know the story of why CM Punk and whatever the guy's name is, Jack Perry? Do we know what they got into legitimately, if they got into a fight, what they got into a fight about?
Well, I would quote Jim Cornette, but I'm trying to quit cussing. But, there was supposed to be a spot that Perry was wanting to do, and I take it that was at the weekend before last pay-per-view, the big, 80-something thousand people. And Punk objected because he said, hey, you could legitimately get hurt doing that. So the only thing hurt during that conversation was Perry's feelings, apparently. So when he went ahead and did the thing anyway, he taunted Punk on camera.
Wow.
That's real, something along the lines of that's real, baby, cry me a river. And, and here's the thing, it wasn't necessarily that led up. There was so much stuff that had gone on in the last couple of weeks. Punk had been asked to come to Atlanta to sit down with all the elite, work out their problems. Punk wanted to do this. He wanted to lay all those ill feelings aside. He gets to Atlanta, they cancel the meeting. So he's traveled, all the way from Chicago to Atlanta, and for nothing. Then you have this kid not only ignoring his advice, but going ahead and taunting him by going ahead and doing what he told him could be dangerous. So, there was apparently a lot of ill feelings going into this with Punk and Tony Khan. So, back in our time, we saw many times, and I was involved in a few of these little come to Jesus meetings. But, we used to handle our business backstage. Whether that was cussing each other out, whether that was fighting it out, whatever. We didn't do it in the ring. Some did, but that was very frowned upon because people are not paying to see a real fight. They're paying to see professional wrestling. Yeah. And somewhere along the way, that was one of the many things that we have lost, is that tradition of policing ourselves. Now, I'm not saying Punk's old school, but he was brought in by old school guys. And those things were drilled into him about respect for the business, respect for each other, don't stand for disrespect. All those things that were drilled into us were drilled into him. And you can say what you want to, but Punk loves professional wrestling. He loves to perform. He really does love his fans. Is he a jerk behind the scenes? Yeah, probably. If he feels like something is wrong, if he feels like he's being wrong, or if he feels like the show is not living up to the standards that it should be, he's going to be vocal about it. Maybe we need more of him. And I'm not saying that I'm completely on his side, but hold on just a second. But there will be signs.
My question is, at this point, and to me, this is the opportunity for, if true, and I still debate if it's true, for him to open up his own company. I would highly recommend he do so while the getting's good. If the fact is, and then and start his own thing, since this obviously can't work for anybody, and best it's time for him to open his own, see how he does, and he would have the name recognition. And so this would not be an opportunity for him to start his own company if true. And then, of course, Tony Khan needs to apparently listen to Teddy Long, who thinks he needs WWE type leadership. I think, well, he's got everything else the WWE has. Why not their leadership? So it's That's just true.
But here's the thing that I thought about today about this situation. Is Tony Khan doing this? Let's see, CM Punk. Now, what do you want to do? Oh, you want to do that? Oh, yeah, that looks good. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Jack Perry comes in. What do you? Oh, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that sounds good.
It's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is Tony
you take care of that. You make that happen.
Is Tony Khan a leader that none of us would want to have, because he always tells the person on the other side, yeah, that sounds good. And that's the reason you have because it's not just CM Punk and him. There's a lot of people that have problems there in the back.
Yeah.
So is this happening? Is he giving people too much power?
I actually do know somebody that works backstage there, and his words to me was, it is a show backstage. He said it's monkeys running the asylum. That's everybody knows it. Nobody wants to talk about it because they're afraid that the situation may come up to the point where Tony does bring in somebody to put them in their place. And none of them want that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like the Guerrero kid, Guerrero, whatever his name is, Sammy, which I think is a great talent. He's extremely small, but he's good talent. But I can say where the frustration was getting to him, where he had an incident, last year. And these are the ones we're hearing about. From my understanding, a lot of these go on that we don't hear about. But when you hire gymnasts and backyard wrestlers to be your EVPs, this is what happens. They have no experience. They are not leaders. They are not leaders. And I'm not talking about their abilities in the ring. Lots of people like them. Hey, that's fine if you do. Not mine. I don't believe any of us is a cup of tea here. But hey, whether by hook or crook, they're pushed to the top of the card. And how many times have we seen that of people getting in a leadership position and pushing themselves over everybody else? It used to happen all the time. So there's just a lot going on in that company. And I think Rodney's correct. Now is the time for CM Punk to either, if he's not going to go back to WWE, and I don't think that's out of the question, because he went a few months ago, dropped by the show, made amends with a lot of people there, including talking to Triple H, who he had a lot of heat with,
Yes.
and squashed that. I thought that was straight up good business. But there is no denying that the only person in AEW that actually moves the needle by himself is CM Punk. I mean, we're talking 300, almost 400,000 people tuned in if Punk was going to be on the show. Now, Saturday night ratings are down. That's not CM Punk's fault. That's because of atrocious idea of putting a show on every kind of sport that goes on, or in the summer. People are just not home mostly on a Saturday night, unless you're old like me and you don't want to get out. And even I don't watch Collision.
When does that show
Go
come on again? What day does that show to come on?
Saturday nights.
And what time?
7, I believe.
Is that TNT or TBS?
I want to say it's TNT, but I'm not sure. Because, like I say, I have not.
Apparently, nobody else is either.
Yeah,
so
I mean, now I have heard
I've
that
never seen it.
that Collision was a better product than Dynamite. That they were, Punk had a hand in a lot more stuff there.
It's amazing though. I saw after their big, huge, historic event in London, the world was set on fire. They were writing the obituary to the WWE yet again. And then the very show comes up, Dynamite comes on Wednesday night, ratings are down. It should have exploded with all this interest. It should have been beyond imagination that the end of the WWE has finally come upon us. Tony Khan, the brilliant man that he is. And of course, we all know that the Adam Cole, I do believe that's Adam Cole, running around telling everybody how MJF is a great locker room leader. What does that mean? Does he help people with their bags?
Why does that matter to a fan? It doesn't.
Well, what is a locker room leader? That's and when I was given the business and when we were there was nobody the locker room leader. You had the booker and assistant booker, but you had no locker room leaders. Is that the guy that runs around and makes sure the toilet paper's in the stalls, made sure everybody had soap? What?
You had guys that I guess maybe you could have said were leaders, like a Wrestling 2 or Bill Eadie or guys like that.
Dutch Mantel.
But they weren't. They didn't look at themselves as the leaders. They were there to protect the business. And if you did wrong and the booker or promoter couldn't get to you right away, they would rip you a new one.
That's right.
And it wasn't because they disliked whoever was in charge. They knew if you're bad, it's going to make all of us look bad.
Yeah.
And they were not going to stand for that because this is how they fed their families and paid their bills. So, again, we've touched on this before, those guaranteed contracts. These guys don't care what happens to the business. They don't care because they know that they have already, if they're smart, made enough money that they're not going to have to wrestle or work anywhere else again. And they think maybe, if they still want to wrestle, they can get on the indie scene and charge $5-6 a piece or whatever. Because I've seen them do it. They ain't never working for us, by the way. But there's just the business has lost control of the business. Those in charge. Now you go to WWE, who's in charge? Vince, Triple H. You know where you go to for leadership.
And experienced people. Vince McMahon, over 50 plus years of experience. Triple H, over 30 something years experience. Where you've got Tony Khan, who has absolutely no experience in the wrestling business. It shows that he's not a good businessman when he puts himself in charge of something that he knows nothing about. If I'm going to open a pizza joint, I'm certainly not going to be able to run that pizza joint myself. I'm going to have to hire somebody to do the pizza joint.
Well, we faced this a few years back when I think the guy was from Mississippi that wanted to put several $1 million into us running a show. But then he wanted to dictate that he wanted really nothing but the old WCW guys.
Yeah.
And that's why we walked away. Because if WCW guys drew, WCW would still be in business.
Yeah.
But he wanted to see what he wanted to see. And we've dealt with a lot of promoters like that over
we've got someone now that was going to finance a major business, but they want it to be a Cobra Kai type wrestling show. It doesn't work. True wrestling can work. You have to. People will believe what you sell them. People will believe what you sell them. This is the same thing that goes on.
And it depends on how it's executed.
Well, you think about it and they go, oh, no, people are too smart for that. No, I'm sorry, but we're not all that smart. And I'm talking about. Is it
smart or being able to draw people in with a compelling storyline, as in a movie or a television broadcast, is able to pull, to draw you in because of tremendous acting ability in a TV show or writing? Would you not say it more like that than the people are gullible and will fall for anything?
Yeah, they're not gullible. I don't think any of us are gullible, but we will believe what we want to believe. And it doesn't matter if the truth just slaps us in the face. We will still believe what we want to believe. Wrestling fans believed wrestling because they wanted to believe it. They wanted to believe it. Now we just basically go out and they just do stupid stuff after stupid stuff after stupid stuff.
Let me try to.
It's the Three Stooges. Wrestling has become the Three Stooges.
And kind of like watching Ricochet against Nakamura last night on Raw. He's standing on the ring apron and holds his leg out as it's supposed to be a kick and just holds his foot straight out and then slaps himself on the leg and then Nakamura sells it. It was the most silly. Did you see that, Jack? The silliest thing. I would be cleaning. There would be so many people at the Performance Center doing leg slap training that there would be by the end of that first week, their legs would be so sore with handprints all over them because they're not reaching the quality decibel that I expect. That when they get in the ring the next time, their legs going to be so sore they'll never slap ever again. And I watched Santos Escobar and Papa Smurf against Grayson, B.B. Waller, and Austin Theory was a leg slap fest beyond anything I've ever seen. Escobar would be in the unemployment line after as many times that I seen him do a leg slap. It was awful, just awful as many leg slaps he did. It was a tag match on SmackDown. It was terrible.
Yep, I saw that.
When we look at Tony Khan, we look at CM Punk. I think he made a huge mistake. Right. If he did fire CM Punk, the problems that he has, it's not CM Punk's problem. It's not Perry's problem. It's not the Young Bucks problem. It is a Tony Khan problem. It is you can't blame any of those people. You're only as good as you are as a boss, as a leader. Not even a boss. A boss don't work.
Yep.
You can't boss people. You have to lead them. And from the beginning, his leading skills have always been, I'm going to put WWE out of business and we're going to let wrestlers do what they want it to do. And look at what we're going to, and he's done that. And this is what he's gotten out of it.
You're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head right there. It shouldn't have been CM Punk coming to Atlanta to talk to the Elite. Tony should have already talked to CM Punk and say, no, this is what we're going to do. He should have already talked to the young whatever they're called. I almost did it wrong. He should have already talked to them and say, I pay the bills here. Okay? I pay the bills, and this is what we're going to do. And if you don't want to do it, there's the door. Or you could be putting up the ring for the amount of money I'm paying, whichever the case may be. But no, it's all falls directly on him. And like I said, through the time we've had problems with wrestlers. Austin Idol, for instance. Many people have problems with him, to the point where, Austin wasn't going to do anything, was not going to refuse to do a job or refuse to work. And then he was going to taking his bags and walk through the arena. And Robert Fuller did. And I said, you see that man right there, Buzz Sawyer? He said, I guarantee you he'll break both of your legs before you reach the stands, before you reach the steps. So it's not new, but it's not to this extent, to where it's where the wrestlers are running the show. It's never been to that point. And
but they're running the show not because they want to run the show. It's because the owner, Tony Khan, told them they were going to run the show.
That's right.
It's not their fault. CM Punk's got it. I'm pretty sure CM Punk's had it in his contract that he controls what he does.
Yeah.
So he probably went to Tony Khan and said, I'd like for you to be with me, and we need to talk to him. I don't want to do that. It's dangerous for me, and it's dangerous for him. I don't mind anything else. We don't want to do that. And you're telling me that Jack Perry is so stuck on himself that was more important than having a good match?
Here's why
years ago you'd have done that to a wrestler. They would have took you down and broke your legs. They would have broke your arms. They would have carried you out in a stretcher. And you would never wrestled again, ever.
Wasn't Tony Schiavone supposed to be in charge of this?
Tony is like, I think the head executive under Tony Khan, but I'm sure the way it works is that Tony Khan talks to him and says, okay, y'all, what do y'all want to do? Oh, that sounds great. Just like we've been saying,
undermines Tony.
Yeah, this is kind of what we had in mind, but if y'all can work that in, make it work, hey, go for it. And I'm paraphrasing because Tony's probably going, okay, guys, all right,
yes.
Okay. Schiavone, again, nothing against Schiavone, but what do you say when guys come up and say, hey, Tony Khan said this is
oh boy, the famous last words Robert said, Ron said. Well, we'll go find out, see what Ron said or whatever said, and probably when he got there, Tony said, oh yeah, that's right, I did talk to him about that. So he undermines Tony every time he gets it.
I don't think the company will ever make it when he's firing people. When Tony Khan decides to fire CM Punk, and he fires, I think, Sonny whatever Kiss was
Sonny
let
Kiss,
go, and maybe a bunch of other. When he's starting to fire these people, he might want to think about firing himself.
Well, I think
since he's the problem, really and truly. I don't blame CM Punk. I don't blame Jack. I don't blame any of them, because that problem is you should have that in group. Now, listen, we don't promote wrestling right now because wrestlers want to tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. That has to change in the wrestling business. I don't care if you're running on a smaller level. If you have a wrestler telling you what to do, you need to tell them to hit the door.
Let me ask you a question.
Pure and simple. And that's just the way it is.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, we ran a show, and we're going to have Bob Armstrong on the show. Okay, Bob Armstrong said, Bob, we're going to have a ladder match tonight, and we want you to climb to the top of the ladder, and then your opponent's going to push the ladder, and you're going to go over the top rope into the front row. What's Bob going to tell you? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And so, you're not going to disrespect your crew by having. I mean, you wouldn't do that for Bob anyway. We wouldn't do that to Bob. I mean, Bob always said never had a Bob and the Armstrongs, whoever said never had problems with them. Said they always treat you right. Your money's always there. They always have good stuff for you to do. And I don't have to put in. But Bob says we don't have to put together the show. They do it for us. And so it was always a good relationship. And that's the key. What kind of relationship does he have? And it doesn't sound very good at all.
And Bob would go and tell you, you'd go through, hey, this is what I have in mind today. See what you think about this. And you go through Bob and you said, this is what I want to do. He said, okay, that sounds good, but can we get to it this way? He said, it'll work better for me.
Exactly.
You can get to it this way. Yeah, fine. You won't change your outcome, but I just need to be able to, this is the way I can do it to make it look right. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's experience, absolute experience, and you'd be crazy not to accept that kind of critique or just a small change.
So do we all agree that Tony Khan should fire himself?
Do what?
Do we all agree Tony Khan should fire himself?
I'm still waiting for the moment that he decides he's going to do his own version of, because it works so well, the NWO, and he's going to be playing.
That's coming, ain't it, Jack?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And really, what Tony needs to do is find somebody to run his company, and every arena that he goes to has one of those box seats, those real expensive ones, and he needs to sit up there and just watch the show. Yeah. And just stay out of the back, stay away from everybody, because he can't tell people no in a way that they're going to take it as a no.
Yeah.
So you got it. He's going to have to. I mean, there's no way around. There's no other way to fix what's wrong there than to put in a leadership that, one, either those guys respect or they're afraid of. And there's nothing wrong with fear. Absolutely nothing wrong with fear.
Because they're being paid great money.
Yes, they are.
So to lose $200,000 or $300,000 a year, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way it's going to be done. This is the ideal we have. You can give a guy, listen, this is where we want to go with you. This is where we want. You got a 3-year contract. This is where we want to go to you 3 years from now. There's nothing wrong with letting a wrestler fill in some stuff. But there is a problem of allowing him to say yes or no. I'm not going to do that. Those first words, they need to be fired.
And by giving them control, they're going to come up with these wild and crazy stunts. Because, one, they hope that that's really going to pop that crowd, because that's all they seem to be concerned about. And two, if I get hurt, Tony Khan's going to take care of me. And he would. That's why he would. You do something stupid, but your employer is going to have to pay the price for that. Last night on Raw, the main event was Chad Gable versus Gunther. And I would say 80% of that match was wrestling. Just professional wrestling. Those people were eating it up because they presented it in a realistic way. There was no joking, no cutting up, no funny spots, no wild, shoving each other off with 20-foot ladders, nothing like that. They stayed on the mat for the most part. They wrestled. It was a true traditional, in most ways, babyface match of where the babyface gets his butt kicked and has those hope spots to come back with every now and then to keep the people. And it was like they listened to that crowd. And, when the crowd started going down, he would pop up and do something. And then Gunther would beat him back down. It was one of the best matches I've seen in forever. And to be honest, Gunther's probably the best professional wrestler in the business today, in my opinion. Now, people could, I don't mind Brian Danielson, guys like that. I see why they have fans. It's too many high spots, too many over the tops for me. But I have a lot of respect for his abilities. He really is good. But Gunther, as far as being an actual professional wrestler, that's the guy. And if everybody don't wrestle like him, but follow in his footsteps and do the reality-based stuff, that's why he has heat. He doesn't go out there and get cheap heat. He goes out there and he earns every boo in that building.
And really doesn't do. He's not nasty. He is not a nasty. No. He's just merely doing something to their favorite. That's all he's doing. And it's not. Yeah. It's not him choking them. It's not him pulling their hair. That kind of thing. You're using a foreign object or something to that degree.
And what got Gable over even more last night was him, because they knew Gable. They hoped Gable could beat him. They didn't give him much hope, but they still wanted him to. And when you've got a heel with that much heat, you can build real baby faces off of that.
Yes.
And that's what they were doing. If they don't stumble and mess this up, Gable could be a big star for them.
Before we move on and see what the insiders, I have to tell everybody this, because I told this company that I would talk about them, because I had some of their grapes the last maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and it's called the Grapery. Can you see that picture right there? Can it come over?
Let me zoom in there, cameraman, if I can.
Grapery. And I'm not being paid. I'm not being paid nothing for this. I just told him I talked. It was called the Grapery. And it's available. I know at Publix. Now I don't know that it's anywhere else, so you can take it off there, Rodney. But there's something called the cotton candy grape.
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious! I have never had this ever in my life. I told the president of the company. I emailed him and said, "Listen, I think it's the best grape I've ever had, and it does taste like cotton candy."
Yeah.
And there's no, and so I asked a lot of questions. I said, "Well, listen, do you infuse something?" No, we do not infuse anything in it. We put together a couple of grapes. We came up with that taste. But they have a lot of different ones, and different times of the month. They have different ones out there. But if you get to Publix, get you some of this is all the ones they have. I hadn't had time. We just emailed back and forth today, but. These grapes are great, and I'm not getting paid nothing for it. I just told the guy I've never had grapes as good as the Grapery. So if you get the Publix, do you know, Jack? Are they on sale anywhere else?
I've never seen them anywhere but Publix so far.
And oh man, they're good. The grapes are good, and
I'm
they got all kinds of
grapes.
So when you get the Publix and get these, I'm just telling you, because they're the best grape I've ever had. I mean, I will be 53 years old soon, and that's the best grape I've ever had. So I just wanted to share that with people. All right, we ready to go see what the insiders got to say?
Let me tell you. We go ahead. Let's do that. But I want to say just how petty Tony Khan is. He comes out a couple of weeks ago and says that the TNT Top Championship now has prestige again. Since Christian Cage had it. Since he's had the title, it's now prestigious again. Well, that's a direct knock on Ludlow
Yep.
or Wardlow. I mean, that is a direct knock on him. And anybody who thinks differently, I got some land I like to sell you. But that was a direct knock on Wardlow because that was the title that he had.
Yeah,
And if Wardlow is a failure, didn't get over, it's because of Tony Khan. Exactly, because I understand he does all the writing. He's been doing it since he was a teenager. I understand.
Yeah,
he's had shows Dynamite and I don't know what the other Dynamite and whatever the other name shows are.
Collision.
Yeah, he's had those names since he was a kid.
Let's not forget Rampage, the #1 non-drawing wrestling show on TV.
Yes, Rampage. Yeah. But I just thought that was so petty. Why even say such a thing?
All right, let's go see what the insiders got to say. Kevin Penley says this, and this could be true. Mm-hmm. You think about what he says. Tony set CM Punk up to get fired. I'd be angry with the transportation thing alone as a sign. Did they do that knowing that CM Punk would be upset when he came to the show?
Well, for somebody that wants to copy WWE, he missed the memo on how when you go overseas, transportation, pickup, everything else is handled. The wrestlers, they don't want them going off and getting lost because you don't live there. You probably don't speak the language. So, they transport it. They have those big buses rented and everything. Everybody travels together. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but I can darn sure understand why he got upset. And I saw the actual picture of him on the train by some fans over there that rode with him to the arena.
Here's the question I'm going to ask, and I'll ask both of you this, and you get your... Is that company going to do well as long as the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are in any type of position where they're wrestlers and are on the cards or TV? I guess it would be.
Well, they don't draw. Not as themselves. The overall product, they draw what they draw. We've talked about this, how the numbers really don't go up much and really don't go down much. They have found their target audience, and it doesn't change. And if you take the elite guys out of the equation, I don't think the numbers would change a bit. I don't see any rabid fans out there when they're in the ring. The arena is not standing up on their entrances.
Rodney, do those guys have to be gone? Because if it's not CM Punk, will it be someone else that they are going toward to do things to make them mad?
If the Young Bucks and Omega goes, he'll just replace them with other brown nose and stooges. It's because true. That's the business. That's just his business model. That's the way he's going to do it. It's not based on performance. It's based on friendship, and we've seen other organizations base their success or whatever the way they do their business on friendship. And lots of times it has nothing to do with who makes the money or who draws the money or who brings in the ratings. It has to do with are they partying with me after the show?
Yeah. And what was Vince? He surrounded himself with people that he liked in the beginning when he took over from his dad. Guys like Pat Patterson, guys like that, stayed in that loop, not because he liked them, although he did, but because they produced. And I guarantee you, if they were not doing their jobs, they would have been gone because Vince did not put anything above business.
Yeah.
And, dislike him all you want. I'm not the biggest fan of Vince in the world on a personal level at all. But the guy knows his business. He knows how to run a business. And if Tony's going to copy him, he really needs to start paying attention to how it's done.
Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen, from Richard Hood. Hasso, good evening. Jimmy James is with us. I'm not going to say it. All this. Now, Jimmy, we were just joking with you last week. We were just joking with you, but we will get We get in trouble all the time. It's a constant thing with YouTube and Facebook. It's a constant. Something is upset. We've upset someone on a daily and weekly basis.
I got something from YouTube for violation, and I have never posted anything on YouTube.
Don Hester is with us. Happy Tuesday, all. And hello to Richard Hood. Richard's been sending me some good stuff. Oh, some good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he sure has.
Send me some great stuff. Kevin Penley said hello to all Mr. Wrestlings. 3, 4, 5. Jim Ross told a story about Hercules Hernandez, but he said he was Mr. Wrestling 3. Well, that's not the truth. He was actually Mr. Wrestling 2. Mr. Wrestling, Johnny Walker in Mid-South, was Mr. Wrestling because he said no one was above him. If you'll remember his interview, he said, no one's above me, so I will be Mr. Wrestling. He will be Mr. Wrestling too. Thought it was a good deal, but Jim Ross has forgotten that. Well, I feel bad for Jim Ross because he has to put over that All Elite Wrestling. He's sitting there going the whole time going, oh my gosh, this stuff is horrible. He has to.
And somebody had mentioned online, because I've read so much, I couldn't tell you where I read it. They were talking about how Jim Ross would be the guy that should run the company for him. But Jim Ross doesn't have the health to do that anymore. No. And he doesn't have the patience because I'm telling you, after the first week, if Jim Ross were truly in charge, 90% of that roster would be fired.
You're right. You're right. That is true. James Brown, my cable company took my ESPN away. Now it's Facebook and YouTube. Did they do that to you, Jack? Did they take your?
No, I have Xfinity, but if you got Spectrum Charter, they have not reached a renewal deal with Disney. So Disney has pulled all of their programming, which is ESPN, SEC Network, all this, a ton of channels, ABC. And apparently they're not making any progress about rectifying the situation right now either. So people are they're mad at Spectrum and they're canceling their accounts and going to YouTube TV or whatever, and which, by the way, Disney owns. So anyway, no, I'm sorry. Hulu is what they own. And they're trying to direct people to go to, subscribe to Hulu, and you get Hulu Live, and, you get all your stations that you're missing.
So you're wondering if they want to be off of cable television and only have internet.
I heard that they were, that ESPN was looking to try to break those agreements that they have with those cable systems so that they can go to a direct-to-customer streaming service.
All right, the wrestling trivia. I said wrestling. I said the wrestling. I really got into in the Southern wrestling there. The wrestling trivia challenge. Ron and Dart Carson were the Gulf Coast Tag Team Champions and the Mid-America NWA World Champions. Who was Ron Carson? Dick Murdoch, Dennis Condrey, Jody Hamilton, or Fred Blassie?
This is a good one. That's a very good one.
We'll let everybody soak that up, and then we'll come back to it and bring in your names.
And thank you for doing that every week. That is awesome.
The Jimmy James, the number of lunatics taking over control of the world, that's way up. And it can't be no different than wrestling, I guess. We got some crazy people running wrestling. Hey,
who's
this group that's supposed to be coming from the UK? Over to the United States to start running wrestling.
It is called Progress, I think.
Progress Wrestling or something like that.
Yes, Progress Wrestling. I had that down for one of my from 1 week. Progress Wrestling expanding into North America. They come from the UK.
All right. Hasso said Perry wants to use glass in a spot. Punk replies like any normal person would, and then Perry gets salty. Makes perfect sense.
Reminds me of a toddler when you're trying to take something away from them. that is absolutely going to put them in the hospital, but they want to fight with you about it.
And really, Perry should have been fired. Perry
He
should have
really
been the one fired. CM Punk, yeah, he might have
Especially
went
it's
to, and now he said, I don't think he fired him because what he did to Perry. I think he fired him because what evidently Punk said to him. He probably said, "You'll be next. I'll show you out."
Well, he supposedly lunged at Tony, and I can understand why he would do that.
Yeah.
You know, you can only put up with so much, and granted, Punk don't have the longest patience in the world, but
have we not done the same thing? Have we not went to people who we promoted wrestling with and said, "That's it. I'm not coming here no more. I'm done."
Yeah,
We've done that
more than once, actually.
Yeah, more than one time. It's been
Georgetown right up the road here.
Birmingham. That was done
Birmingham,
there twice, actually. And there's been other times too before the show even got there. I'm sorry, not going to go to the show.
Well, Jimmy Crockett was another one. We just said no, we're just not doing that.
So we understand how it is to be in a wrestling company or someone running wrestling that has no clue how to do it, but then are trying to tell you what you need to do. And grant you, we probably wasn't making the monies that CM Punk was making. I would probably venture to say it was $1 million a year or more. But still, if you don't need that $1 million, then and I don't think CM Punk does. I think he was smart enough to invest his money. So
I think he really wanted to help the company. I think that was his intent for going back, because he didn't need the job. He didn't need the headache. He just wanted to help build something big. Was there a little bit of, getting back at Vince McMahon involved in that? Probably. But at the end of the day, he really did want them to be successful and good. And he got fought with every step of the way.
I'm not saying this happened, but I'm pretty sure Tony Khan told him, "Oh yeah, we'll do whatever you want to do." When he would get there, it would be completely different.
When he first came in, I think I was reading that somewhere, but I don't remember where was that. Tony wanted his influence in the locker room. So basically, he's saying, "Hey, I'm wanting him as a locker room leader. I'm going to bounce stuff off him. Let's figure out how to make the production better, get the wrestlers in line about stuff." So he was doing what he was told he could do, or they wanted him to do. And yet when he did it, Tony cut him off his knees every time.
Sad.
Every time. I would never, ever go against a veteran guy against somebody that's green. No. Especially when you hear that conversation out and figure out that, hey, he really is trying to protect this Perry kid.
Yeah.
He's not telling him he can't do the spot. He's saying, well, let's get some breakable glass in there so you don't get hurt. I've never got mad at anybody in the wrestling business that wanted to protect me. Never.
And it was to the point where I understand that he was saying that Perry was trying to find reasons not to come to work. He was wanting to get hurt or whatever so he could be off and do whatever. That's.
I guess hang out with that girlfriend that he's with. But don't they only work 1 or 2 days a week?
Yeah, I know they started doing house shows, but I haven't heard about any more house shows since they started the Saturday night show.
Yeah, the Saturday night show, and then they cut all their house shows out from what I read.
Yeah.
I got the Andre the Giant book. I'm looking forward to reading.
So,
James Brown.
My question is this: is Bischoff saying that they're repeating WCW mistakes? I don't think that's the case at all. This is worse. This is completely something different than what WCW did. Absolutely different, because I don't believe that WCW had weak leadership.
Not till the end.
Yeah, not till Vince Russo, right?
Yeah,
that was just a mistake.
Leadership was horrible, absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But it started all. Eric Bischoff's the one who started the ball rolling for that to become what it was, because he didn't have anything past the NWO. And he kept on trying to push NWO 64, NWO 83, NWO this, NWO. I'm thinking, goodness gracious, come up with something new.
Yeah.
They've seen that stick. Let's bring them something different. And it's
Yeah,
like they never could get. It's almost like the Four Horsemen. Dusty Rhodes couldn't get away from that. He just kept on going back to it. Don't keep on going back to it. It's just not going to work. Never has. You look at the wrestling business. Going back to something over and over again it has never worked.
No, but Bischoff said the Four Horsemen never drew any money, by the way.
Oh, what a moron he is.
80 apparently, and of course he wasn't at WCW. He didn't work for Jim Crockett Promotions. That was through 86 through 88. They were doing big business.
That was the years he was. See, he don't know because that was the years that he was selling the. I think I'm not for sure. I could be wrong about that. My opinion only, but I think he was at that point in time. He was selling those carpet cleaners at the time from door to door.
Very well, yes, and then doing AWA on the side.
On the side, but I think
yes,
it could not have been carpet cleaners. It might have just been the carpet cleaning stuff. But I'm not for sure he was doing anything in wrestling except for the stuff on the side. Because wasn't Rod Trudgard still there at the time, and a bunch of them other?
Yeah, because Bischoff was there at the end for AW.
James Brown said Perry was asking for a lawsuit. Look at Goldberg's angle with Glass and WCW. Did that come out bad? So I don't know. We'll have to look at that. We might have to bring up that video. Top Gun for Life says hi, and he says a long time, so it's been a long time since he's been with us. Let's see. Why is it not in order? Tony Khan is just a mark, and Daddy gives him money to lose.
Oh, you wait till he starts working, boy. You think once he starts being a character and working, he's running his own NWO thing on there. He'll pour every dime of money he's got into the show until Daddy cuts him off.
And it will happen. Every Tuesday, my wife wrangles the Rugrats into the bed and bath in bed. Meanwhile, I sneak into the office and turn you fellas on. She thinks I'm on a business conference call.
Well, welcome, Jeremy. We thank you for tuning in.
How much money does AEW have to lose before Tony's dad put a stop to it? There is a number. Because Tony Khan's father stopped that network that he had after losing millions of dollars. I think about $12 million they lost on that. So does he have a number? I think they've lost about $4 million now. He's not recouped any of the money that he's put into it. So what will happen? Will he get to 12 and Tony Khan's dad says that's it?
Well, he invested $100 million into the company.
$100 million.
$100 million, yes. So the magic number, maybe the $100 million's it.
I think he spent more than $4 million, don't y'all? He had to, because look at the shows. I don't even know if he makes any money, period, even on the shows, because we know it's expensive to do a show. Just for us to do a show on a scale, we're talking $35,000 to $40,000 a show.
Well, again, we don't have their financials, but from just experience of being around the business so long, which some of us were born into it, boys. Yeah, it's the very best. I would think he might be breaking even, but I'm not even sure that that's happening.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to believe that because it's costing them so much money to run these shows. The Bucks never lose on TV. Notice that?
Oh yeah.
So they've never lost a match on television.
Very, I could not tell you a time that I watched it when they lost, and of course they lost me as a regular customer about a year ago. So.
You won't see Punk Jr. get Rodney wet his head and put a Pepsi in his hand. Oh, Punk has a belt.
Yes.
He still has his AEW title, and he had done the Hulk Hogan deal where he spray painted an X, because that's his sign, on the belt and proclaimed him the real world's champion.
Oh, so they did the Ric Flair.
They were working toward turning CM Punk heel.
See, they do
And
too much turning,
I do not think they will use that belt on that show.
No, they'll never even talk about AEW exist. It doesn't matter if WWE, and if Khan wants to hear it, what's his other? There's a Nick Khan like to hear this. Your Raw program, another 5 years from now, will go from 1.6 to 900,000, not because of anything you're doing, what cable is doing. So you might want to find, you might want to really kiss Fox's tail and keep that program where it's at. But I think they're not. I think it goes the opposite way. And I don't care how much money they tell you they're going to give you, if those cable companies, and they're all losing money, if they ain't making money, they're going to stop giving you money, and now you're in trouble. And I think Fox, they still do what, 2.3 or something like that?
They did a 2.5 the other night. The week before they did a 2.6. They still did a 2.5 Friday night.
So, I mean, you got to stay there because people are getting rid of cable on a daily basis. Badly, they're losing cable subscribers. Not WWE's fault. It's just what's happening to. I mean, when you have to go to the grocery store and it costs you $22 just for one steak to eat, you're going to get rid of cable television. That's going to be one of the first things you get rid of. I think people will keep their internet, and they're going to watch YouTube, and they're going to watch those things. But Hulu, does WWE still come on Hulu, or is it?
Yeah, well, I think they do, because that's how my daughter watches it when she's with her mom.
All right, so I don't know. I don't watch the program. I only watch YouTube. I only watch little bits and pieces.
I cannot divulge. I cannot divulge how I watch the program.
Well, we know you said. Let's see.
What? No, I didn't say.
Sean Smith said the inmates are running the AEW asylum.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the Joker in all this, and the Riddler in all this, is Tony Khan. He is the worst one of the asylum.
Yeah.
He does not understand how to run even a business. You don't let anyone get you. You can let somebody say, here's what we want you to do. But you got to give them direction, because if not, they're going to do things that you don't want them to do.
Well, here's a question I ask. Why was Jack Perry even asking CM Punk about the angle in the first place?
He wasn't. He was talking about it. Punk heard about it and told him, he said, man, I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh, okay. I just wonder how it, you would think that you'd think that he would had approval from somebody. Somebody had to sign off on it.
Hey, let me ask you this question. What was going to happen with the glass? Was he going to get hit with it?
No, they put done some kind of move. I don't remember if it's suplex or whatever it was, but he went onto the back window of a car.
Yeah, that's that good quality wrestling programming right there.
Yeah.
What CM Punk was trying to tell them, yes, they do it on WWE. They might do it on WWE, but I guarantee you it's worked some form or fashion.
Oh, yeah.
So the guys won't get hurt.
Yeah, well, I forgot who I heard up there too now, but they were talking about Bill Goldberg when he legitimately put his hand through a limousine window, and he was out for months while that healed up because it cut him so bad. WWE was never going to take a chance of that happening to one of their guys. So everything's gimmick.
And Tony Khan should have stepped up and said, no, This is not going to happen because what happens if you do that? He goes through it and it goes through his whole body and kills him. It doesn't make any sense while that was done. So CM Punk was right. It's the reason Tony Khan should fire himself because he has no clue what he's talking about. Hasso. Well, now, Khan once watched Mid-South and booked several action figure fans. Most of the AEW guys are from PWG Group, even the masked horrible announcer. The masked horrible announcer. Rick Brooks, hey guys, and all the fans. Let's see. How many more years can the Young Bucks be the Young Bucks?
According to how
It won't
much?
be long until they'll drop the young part.
They'll just be called the Bucks.
That's right. One of many things.
Well, you remember Jimmy Powell told Ricky Morton on an interview once when he was doing the motivational person, Russell Birmingham. He said, I just want to help you just a little one, just real small. I want to help you because that's what I do. I like to motivate people. He said, I need to help you. Oh, he just went off. He said, I want to motivate you. And he said, the one thing I need to know is, number one, you're getting a little too old to be doing rock and roll. So maybe what you need to do, maybe you need to call yourself the Polka Express and do that, because I think that's what you're more. Good stuff. Me and him talked over all that stuff. But boy, Jimmy Powell knew how to. He knew how to get it. I think we got Jack. We just don't have his picture.
We don't have a picture, Jack.
I'll come right back in.
Okay.
Don Hester said the middle-aged Bucks.
It's possible.
If you fire Punk, you fire Perry. I think he is fired. I think Perry. I've read that he was fired. So I don't know.
He was, from the last I saw, he was suspended. Whatever that means.
If not, to me, it's a setup. It's not a good setup. You can't do that. You cannot fire people. As the owner of the company, you cannot go around firing people. Vince McMahon was completely different. It was meant, everything he did. Because really and truly, I don't think Vince thought he was going to be the heel in all that. I think he thought, hey, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I don't think he understood that people were going to boo him out of the building the next time he went somewhere. He couldn't even do commentary after that. People would boo him so bad. But it was a completely different situation. It was done out of necessity, not because that's what Vince McMahon wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, it just happened that way, which is really the best thing that can happen in a wrestling business.
That's right. You watch the crowd, see what they're going to buy. We're about to see LaKnight just totally blast off. I mean, it's going to be big. Probably going to be the big Royal Rumble winner coming up. Yeah, he's about to explode.
Let's see. They lied. I turned that off.
I'll have to turn the chat on to see what that said now.
To a certain extent, what he said is correct. It makes no sense. Nothing they do in AEW makes any sense. Nothing makes any sense. So I'm going to agree with you on that, Jimmy. There is no wrestling anymore. Joe French said there's all gimmick matches. That is, when I watch it, there is a lot of gimmick matches.
Way too many.
Gimmick matches always, in the majority of the time, could kill a territory. Always.
My question is this: what's a tornado tag match? And if all 4 men is in the ring, when are they tagging? It's not WWE that started that. That was something way down. We always called it a Texas tornado match in Georgia. It was always a Texas tornado match. And I understand they wanted to call it Texas, but you could call it the Southern tornado match or whatever. Yeah. But calling a tornado tag match with there's no tagging involved, I don't get it.
I mean, really, it's not any different from the other matches because they don't follow any rules. And they did that finish last night where somebody got disqualified for using a chair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when did they give the authorities authority again.
That was the same match, Ricochet and
Yes.
Nakamura, and they should have been counted out well before they were the disqualification. And I looked up when they got the camera, you could see the referee. I'm thinking, why hasn't the referee called for the bell? And he should have counted them out by this time. He wasn't counting. He was standing on the edge of the ring apron. Because Britt, the proper response is, Roddy, that wasn't the finish. It was him hitting with the chair that was the finish.
That's what I was going to say. He was just waiting for the finish.
Oh my
And
God.
it was bad. No, I'm sorry. That whole thing was bad. That whole thing was bad. And then the stomp.
Evan Ginsberg has said it best. He said Nakamura in Japan was probably one of the best wrestlers he'd ever saw in his life. And he said, now all you have is a badly neutered Nakamura in the ring.
Those stomps to Seth Rollins at the steps were awful.
Why are they pushing him? Because I said this 3 years ago he needed to be gone, that he was horrible, and you're not going to draw any money with him. And I don't even know the guy. I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I just don't. He doesn't look like an athlete. He doesn't look like a wrestler, and everything he does is a comedy skit. And you're going to put a title on a man that's a comedy skit? Come on now. Do we still have the hardcore title?
No.
All
right. So now we're just going to let
24/7
be the
24/7. Yeah, 24/7's gone now too.
What's his what champion is he now?
Seth Rollins is the world champion.
Yeah, but what about the other guy? Did he win a title?
No, he's not a champion.
All right, so but he will
Nakamura's not a
soon probably.
champion.
He's probably going to beat Seth Rollins because is he not going to work against Seth Rollins at some point?
He's already done it once, and now it's
but he lost.
Yeah, he lost.
Well, I'm hoping he don't win.
And what it looks like is they don't have anybody to work with Seth Rollins. Is what it looks like, and that to me it's very weak. And they just got Judgment Day. Everybody's got belts now in Judgment Day. They won the tag titles from Sami Zayn, the homeless people, and Kevin Owen.
All right. What if a river or a crapster gave Perry a pep talk regarding how to handle Punk because Perry wouldn't say boo to a goose a year ago?
Mr. Hasso, I think that is your name. It's very close to something else, another hole, but we're not going to go there. That's the reason that I'm leaning towards the work.
I don't know that it is. And if it is, it's going to be such a backlash. Even let's say it is a work, the backlash of it is going to be horrendous.
Well, Jack Perry and the Young Bucks and Omega and the new NWO light thing, they're the elite, led by the brilliant Tony Khan. I can see how he'll dress, possibly with a turban. Has a harem. You never know. I don't know.
John Hester, I agree with you. Jack Gunther could have been a great German heel back in the 70s. He has a little old school in him.
Yeah, it reminds you a lot of Waldo Von Erich.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, he's had him some of those cotton candy.
I've got to get me some of those.
Oh, I know you can buy them other places, but at Publix around Tennessee here. So I don't know. They could be sold every place else. But I did tell the guy, I said, listen, they went in business in 1996, so they've been around for a while. But I have never ever had one as good as that. So
you know what I find to be very unusual? How Jey Uso, another leg slapper, by the way, quits and then ends up on Raw. I don't think he's a man of his word at all.
Well, don't you know it's part of the storyline?
Or the bloodline. Do you think Cody's going to exchanging places with him? He's going to SmackDown. Because it makes no sense of why Cody would come out on the BB Waller show there and
I
make
don't-
the introduction, and that just seemed to be odd. Why he's out there? He's now the spokesperson. I did enjoy Cody's statement, even though he did spit all over Waller. I did enjoy his state of making fun of all the shows. This show is just like the barber shop, the flower shop, the Piper's Pit, a flair for the gold. He said, which was his favorite. He's the only one. And then he said, and I know what you're going to do, try to say mean things to me, and then I'll have to take my tie off and then give you the roads, crossroads or whatever. And he said, well, no, we're not going to do that. And he actually called every single one of those shows what happens. That's what Cody did in that interview, I thought. He just pretty much said that's exactly what happens. And then he introduces Jey Uso, and then he comes out, and then he destroys it. And just,
I
all
hope.
right, and I know The Miz is very happy that Grayson Waller's doing that show now. He's taking most of the punishment now.
They would not be working toward a Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes tag team against Roman Reigns and somebody, are they?
in a steel cage.
You don't think they're going to do the Jey Uso
In a
thing,
cage.
turn it on? All
In a
of them
cage.
turn on. All of them turn on and hurt Cody Rhodes, the Dusty Rhodes.
Sami Zayn is a special referee. Yeah, I see it coming. Yeah, I see it.
It didn't get over when it almost killed Dusty in Atlanta.
Well, let's remember though, if they do it the way you're talking about, they're reversing the outcome. Because instead, Jay goes in already fighting his brother. So at the end of it, if they were to screw Cody, then they're actually reversing that. They're going to put the brothers back together.
But man, it'll make Cody look like a complete idiot. If it will not, it will absolutely.
From the information, what I saw, that they're saying that now that Uso Jay is over on Raw, that somebody from Raw is going to SmackDown. So we see which one. I'm just wondering. I just guessed Cody. Because it made no sense where Cody came out there and introduced him coming to Raw. It made no sense.
James Brown said Publix for me is 50 miles away. They're available other places. Just you got to look for Grapery though. It's got to say Grapery. But they are other places. I just know I bought it. I bought it at Publix. I don't know where else they got it. Let's see. We'll have to try those grapes. Thanks for letting us know about them. They are good. Man, they're good. I've never had a better. I eat them things, and this is what I said. I went over there and I pulled some off. I said, yeah, man. I washed them off. I ate one. I went, oh, man, this does taste like cotton candy. And I ate some more. Then I ate some more. I would have brought them on the show with me today and show people, but I ate all of them. They're all gone. It's just I'll have to buy some.
The one I believe most of your story, except for the washing off part.
No, I washed them off. I did wash them off. Russo was the only one to portray Wrestling 3. Did Russo do a Wrestling 3 thing?
I don't remember that.
I don't either. Jeremy Richter said Dennis Condrey on our wrestling trivia. James Brown said Dick Murdoch. Rick Brooks, it's a joke watching them walk that long aisle during their bits, acting like they're mentally challenged. Let's see. Guys, this is a quiz. What was the worst pay-per-view ever? Well, he sent it to me. And I watched bits and pieces of it.
Heroes of Wrestling.
Oh, my gosh, that was horrible.
You had never seen that before?
No, I had never saw it before. My gosh, that was bad. It was embarrassing. Rodney, if you get the chance, watch that. See, Rodney has no Facebook page, so Richard can't send him this stuff.
It's quality entertainment, yes.
Yes, don't. Oh, my goodness, that was so bad.
Who was on this debauchery? I mean, this debauchery.
And an extremely high Jake the Snake was the main event.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh, it was so bad.
Well, I understand him and Darby Allin had words last week about some stupid thing he did, fell off the top rope onto the coffin like an imbecile. Very
He's
stupid.
tried to
we have
tell
some
him
very
several
stupid
times.
people.
Jake Roberts has tried to tell him several times, don't do that stuff. And he does it anyway. When he's in a wheelchair and can't walk, then he'll say, I wish I had listened to Jake. But hey, I was entertaining
Look,
the boys.
guys, I've had 10 knee surgeries in my life. I'm going to have a hip done. My back is shot. My shoulders are gone. And I worked a relatively safe style of wrestling. So if I can be hurt being safe, these guys taking chances like they're doing, absolutely, they're going to be in wheelchairs and assisted living facilities by the time they're 50 years old.
Yeah, it's sad. Robert Grice said, hello, great ones. Richard Hood said Bischoff was selling kid ninja suits during that. And I believe he was, honestly. I believe he was. He goes from that, and by 1996, he was running the wrestling company, which good for him. He did do good for 83 weeks, 2 years, whatever it was, but nothing behind it. And we can all have one great ideal, but we have to have a Nick Lewis and a Roy Welch that can go 50 years and promote.
Well, when he ran out of WWF, when the WWF cut him off from new talent, there was no new talent coming from them. It ended him. You'll notice, and then it was him trying to get what was the guy Kidman? Was it Kidman that was they called the Walmart champion or whatever? I'm not the flea market champion, and that's when he started pushing all those young guys that weren't going anywhere. Instead of mixing them in with while he had it going, he waits till it's already done, and then and part of that is those wrestlers, Hogan, Hall, Nash, there wasn't going to pass the torch to anybody. Anybody else get over.
Hasso said Bischoff actually made a valid point, though. He said he was ready, but merch revenues was still through the roof. But here was the problem with WCW in the way it was structured. It was structured in a way, even though merchandise might have been tremendous, while we were there, merchandise was under a completely different group.
Company, yeah.
World Championship Wrestling did not handle the merchandise. It was handled through another company that you would have to talk with. When we were going to sell merchandise WCW, it was nobody in WCW you talked to. It was a completely different group on the other side of the CNN Center. They didn't make the money off the merchandise. None of that revenue went into that. Now, when Bischoff took over, he might have went to him and said, no, we need this in-house. I don't want to do that. But while we were there and we were talking to them, they did not get any of the revenue. They didn't even get the revenue from the pay-per-views. It went to Turner Home Entertainment. It never went to WCW. So it was it was going to be a losing proposition from the get-go because they'd only made money off of the arenas. Even the TV revenue didn't go to WCW. It went to Turner Home Entertainment. So it was a weird deal while we were there. It made no sense.
All the other companies, TBS, was padding their profits by using WCW. And they were not paying. They were not exchanging money. There was no marketing. There was no licensing from WC. No, they just took all the revenue streams and put them out to different side of the companies.
Yeah, and the only revenue that they were able to actually get was the arena revenue. Jack, what's your prediction? Alabama and Texas.
Well, I'm trying not to get here, too much into sports, but roll Tide. So.
Hello from the Mid-South, old Carl, Mickey Mayfield. Take them all to the train station. If you are a Yellowstone fan, you will know what that means. You will know exactly what taking them to the train station means. And you don't want to go to the train station. I can tell you that. I tried to watch AEW one time, and I knew they were headed in the wrong direction when they started the show with a battle royal.
Yes. And for the longest, that's the way they did stuff, was their best match was the opening match.
Richard had asked this question. I don't know. What is Arn Anderson's position with AEW?
I think he agents just like Jake and Billy Gunn and several others, but they have no authority.
Just there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like oatmeal. They just
Just there, legendary guys who actually drew money in the business, didn't make as much money as they deserved, but they certainly made money for the business, but they're being ignored.
Daniel Lane. Come on, Rodney Flair for the go. Had Fifi the French maid that made it the best talk show since adorable Adrian's Flower Shop.
Whew. Oh, it did give us the Shockmaster.
Hey, Robert Gross said he heard Bischoff was selling out of the trunk of his car at that point in time.
Well, I know, I don't know how much he got paid, but I remember him talking about bargaining his way in with Gagne. And of course, Vern didn't want to pay him. And I think he just basically said, well, hey, if you can push my products, during a commercial break, I won't charge you anything. So they were just using him to plug the upcoming towns. And it just so happened that he stayed there long enough that all the other announcers faded away to doing whatever they were doing. And they had to push him up to that lead guy. And he did really well. And he said when he got to WCW, that's all his position was announcer. He didn't have any office responsibilities, but when they started looking for somebody to run the company, nobody was volunteering to run the company. So he was like, well, hey guys, I'll do it. What could he lose?
I think Jim Ross wanted it, and I think that's the reason Jim Ross left there.
Yeah.
I think he really wanted it. I think he got upset because they didn't give it to him. But he had been there, so I guess they felt like, well, he's been here and he's been in the office, and he hasn't made any changes.
And I can see that point, especially when you're an owner that has no perception of what our industry is about. And we can all agree on that. There was nobody in those offices above that had a clue what wrestling was about.
Towards the beginning of NWA and TNA, he was referred to as that when Russo helped Jarrett beat Ron Killings, Mr. Wrestling 3. Well, at least he didn't say it was Mr. Wrestling 2. And at least he knew who Mr. Wrestling 2 was. That was kind of... All right, Rodney, any final comments before we get off of here today?
Well, let me see. Carlito. I would expect would have seen him already, but I'm just wondering if the whole thing's been scrapped or what's going on with him.
I don't know. Go ahead. They may be waiting until the new company takes over to debut him so that they can have some stuff of, hey, new owners are here. Lots of stuff's going to change, and then start introducing some guys they've had under contract but hadn't used.
Well, they might be wanting to try to put him with the instead of the Latin World Order, with the Leg Slappers World Order, and he might not be able to fit in there because he doesn't slap his leg.
Hey, you know what?
They might be training him
what
for
they need to do with Carlito. They need to take. I'm getting a hold of Grapery. I want to get a hold of, because instead of him eating apples, he needs to come out and have grapes that he's eating. And then they got a tie-in with the grapes.
Yeah, here's the problem. I've had those grapes, and you do not want to spit them out.
Well, that is correct. Some other things. NWA production is going to be changing. It's not going to help them any if they don't change what's in the ring. I did notice when I was examining their YouTube channel that mostly the most popular thing are the women. The matches with the women is the most popular thing in the NWA. Kevin Sullivan was talking about Goldberg when he first brought him in. He said that he knew that Goldberg didn't have any wrestling ability, but he felt like that he could eventually grow into his wrestling ability. And of course, many people said the same thing about Kevin Sullivan, and he never did.
I was talking to Kevin.
Rod, you thought about that one all day today.
I was thinking about what in the world is he talking about, Kevin? You never did evolve in your wrestling ability. What did you wrestle? The lady with the third eye, and the tree of woe, and I'm not going to sell anything, and then I'm just going to kind of just wobble in the corner and then pull out hangers and be the testicular assassin. I mean, that was brilliant. He devolved. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jack, any final comments before we leave?
No, I think everything's been said that needs to be said, Rodney.
Folks, don't forget, next week we will tell you exactly where you can find us. We will have stuff on YouTube. We'll have stuff on Facebook. That's not going to be an issue. But our main objective is to move over to a radio and a website. And that's our main objective for next week. So we'll tell everybody about that. It'll start in October, whatever October 1st falls in. I'm not for sure what October 1st falls in.
Rodney's wanting to turn.
We didn't do our trivia answer.
Oh, the trivia answer.
Dick Murdoch is mine.
Rodney?
Dick Murdoch.
Dick Murdoch. I got a photograph over there of Dick Murdoch and Don Carson as the tag team champions in Gulf Coast Championship.
Did he put the answer up, Victor?
I don't think he did he?
No.
It wasn't Victor, was it?
No, it wasn't Victor.
It was Daniel Lang.
Daniel Lang, yes.
Yes, we knew that because our father he actually worked there while Ron Carson was there. Because I remember Dick Murdoch was riding with him. He says, I probably should have always kept that name of of Ron Carson. Maybe I would have made a better living instead of Dick Murdoch, I think is what he told us. Love Dick Murdoch.
I was watching this past week old Nick Goulas from Nashville wrestling come up, and Ricky Morton was against Eric Emery. And watching that match, all I could think of is Ricky Morton, the uncrowned world heavyweight champion.
Hasso said that he's never had a grape.
What?
Well, have you some of them graperies? I think it's Grapery. I believe that's how you say it.
Like drapery is just graperies. Yes.
Grapery. Nice people too. Very nice people who own the company. So get out there. Owned from California.
I would have liked to wondered if they could have done CM Punk and Jack Perry in a match and have a similar thing to happen between Super D and Big Red. What do you think?
But I'm going to tell you, I think they should bring back. I'm thinking they just need to bring back all the people from Beverly Hills 90210. And just have a whole reunion, even though I know he wasn't on the show. But hey, there you go. Bring all. I don't even know if them people still alive that was on Beverly Hills 90210.
Well,
not Jack Perry's dad.
Yeah, I don't think he's around. But is the rest of them around?
Most of them, I think.
I watched that for the first maybe 2 years, and then it just went really crazy.
Yeah, it was bad.
Shannon,
like everything.
What's her
Daughtery,
name?
yeah. Daughtery, yeah.
I think she's in really bad health. But
hey, if you need something to watch between now and next Tuesday, Paramount Plus, Lioness.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh my goodness, that's a tremendous series. So get out there and watch it. All right, until next
and hey, before we go, if anybody was wondering why I zoned out just a little bit ago, I have a big light up here over me, and my cat got right up under it. And I thought, well, cat, I didn't say this out loud, but I said, now, cat, you're going to knock that over. So I thought, what do I have that I can poke the cat with to get him to move off under it? And this was all I could find. So anyway, everything failed except for the cat.
You missed.
All right, folks, we will see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we'll see everybody next week as we continue our look. And next week we're gonna look a little bit about Mid-South Wrestling. I've got some old booking sheets here we're gonna go through, and we're gonna talk a little bit about November 1985 and maybe what went wrong with Mid-South Wrestling. And I don't think, even though they like to tell you this, I don't think it had anything to do with the oil. I think it had to do with these matches and who was on the cards. We'll talk about that next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.